And we're live. Hey everybody that's just joined, welcome. Glad you could make it. Yes, it's Discord Chat Wednesday, so if you want to, you can pop into Discord and we can all have a chat. Be great if anybody can come in. Hope the sound's doing fine. Hope you're all doing well. I was thinking we can talk a bit about the Aether if you really wanted to, because it has been up with discussion quite a lot lately, and well, it's up to you guys. Let's start it off this way. Hey everybody that's just joined, glad you could make it. Thank you for coming. If you want to, it is Discord Wednesday, so you would be able to hop into Discord and chat if you really wanted to. Hey Travis, I'm glad you could make it. How are you doing? I hope you're doing well. Hope the sound is doing okay. Everything looks fine on my side. Yeah, T Brown, what is the Aether? Very good question. I think a lot of people are very divided in the lines, as you've been seeing with this. When I first came into the Flat Earth, I was 100% for the Aether, and I think a lot of the people are that first come into Flat Earth. But when you come and do the actual research, at the end of the day, the conclusion I come to that it just isn't there, it doesn't exist. But I'll give my reasons throughout. So yeah, I did try and actually invite Witsit to come on, but he's just ignoring me straight out on Discord. I don't know what I did to him. So yeah, there's a feedback sound. I don't know what the feedback sound would be though. Is it very bad? Man, why, oh why? Does that make a difference, Travis? I just removed the mic. That makes a difference, because I do have a Buffalo mic that I've been using. Don't know if that's going to make a difference. But yeah, thanks everybody for coming. Better. Okay, cool. So it was the Buffalo mic. I am saving up for another mic, so, or Ruif did say he wants to give me a Yeti. I don't know how we're going to get each other, but yeah, we'll see. Okay, hey PT, good to see you. Anti-disinformation 26, welcome, glad you guys could make it. Yeah, so I got 4 Patreons, can you believe it? So I just want to say a huge shout out to all the Patreon supporters that do support me. You are helping me to save up to get a new mic and better equipment and whatever, so thank you all. So yes, I have Michael Khan, Kiki says Seabass, and Skeptic936 as Rooster, and our first Wolfpack is Aaron Armstrong. So thank you very much all for helping me out. Okay, cool. So yeah, like I said, it is Discord Wednesday, so if any of you do want to jump in, you're more than welcome. I think the discussion today can be more about the Aether, because it is kind of what's doing the rounds and everything. We got the 2 parties in Flat Earth, with the Aether and without the Aether. I don't know if you've realized this. I, on the other hand, I'm not for the Aether. When I first came into the Flat Earth, I was 100% for the Aether, and yeah, I mean, if you check on my channel, the first 3 videos, practically on my first channel, my first videos were about the Aether. So I was thinking we can actually go through them a bit if you really wanted to, and then I can give my reasons why I changed my mind on why the Aether doesn't exist. But I'm not going to go and ridicule anybody for believing it. It's everybody's own opinions. To me, if you believe it, it's up to you, and I would like if you can come and give your case for why you think it is. I think it's actually quite interesting that we still do get people that choose to believe the Aether, even though, yeah, I think it's all got to do with the point of view and how you see things and how you interpret reality, I would say. Shane St. Pierre, by the way, know you from the server. Okay, cool. It's good to see everybody here. 9 people. Okay, so I'm gonna get going and putting it on the first video. I just hope it's got no echo, because I did sort it out during the week and I managed to get it sorted. Let's see if it's showing. Okay, so this was from one of my first videos, proving the Aether part 1. So I was dabbling on to try and see if we can figure out how to prove the Aether or whatever, and what it could be. So obviously all I was saying, according to physics, the Aether theory is known as Aether theories because you have more than one actually. The purpose, the existence of a medium. So in other words, it has to be physical medium, a space-filling substance or field. This is why you get a lot of people that think it's magnetic field or whatever, because they see that field and think, oh, it's got to propagate through a field. Thought to be necessary as a transmission medium for the propagation of electromagnetic or gravitational force. So in other words, the Aether was just, even based on the globe that days, it was just based on a type of structured medium everything has to flow through. So it's as good as saying it is air kind of thing. It's just everywhere. That's what the Aether is, and that's why it actually has to be physical. Yeah, all perceptible matter comes from a primary substance. This was Nikola Tesla, which a lot of the people today actually want to give. He's like the father of the Aether, you can call it today, because I mean most flat earthers, even on the global news that of flat earth, push for this with Nikola Tesla. So this is just some experiments showing with the Tesla coil and everything, with the fields around it, with electromagnetism. So it's just practically the belief that because we have a field based on electromagnetism, so therefore something has to propagate. So that would be an invisible medium, the Aether, for it to propagate, in other words. So that field would be the Aether. I really do hope at the end of this it's going to make more sense to some of the people that don't really understand where the Aether comes from, kind of thing. And then I also hope it's going to just clear things so people can have both sides of the story, because like I said, at the end of the day it's your own opinion if you believe it or not. I was in that case believing it, but I'll give my reasons why I don't anymore. Yes, this is exactly what everybody's putting. It's just the frequency and vibration. In other words, the Aether. Going on about it lately, so I thought let me.
An energy pattern. I think I've shown it on my channel before.
Yeah, it's that's got to do with the resonance. I was just showing it on now, with the different frequencies.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
Yeah, I was just showing it now. I'll actually put the links in after for the chat for everybody. This is still on proving Aether part 1, because like I was trying to tell everybody, when I first got into flat earth, I was 100% for the Aether, no doubt, and I was trying to do research into trying to prove it, and at the end of the day I came to a dead end that I just had to say to myself, well listen, yeah, I can't prove it, so it's definitely not feasible. But I'm not going to
look at it like
yeah?
wireless electricity, you know what I mean? Like that's how I look at the Aether, or whatever you want to call it, you know, like wireless electricity, like how Tesla had his wireless car, you know. But
yeah, that's exactly what I was trying to explain to everybody. The Aether is actually just seen as a propagation medium for the magnetic forces and everything, for the electromagnetic waves, because the belief is that you require this propagation medium for the waves to exist, because it's the same if you have water, the ripple, you need the actual medium, the water, to have that wave ripple, and that's what the people believe Aether to exist. Now to actually prove
okay, I see, okay.
Yeah, but now to actually prove it's a medium of substance, which is another thing. That's where it comes the difficult part.
Right, exactly, because, you know, when you're doing things on a physics basics, you know, like a physics show, right, you got to cover every single bit. But, yeah, philosophy-wise or whatever, yeah, our ancestors talk about the Aether quite a bit.
Yeah. That's why, I mean, if you could see on YouTube at the moment, also showing a bit of ferromagnetism and stuff, because I do also explain a bit of the difference between the dielectrics and stuff. That's why it's actually, it's funny to me that the people are actually coming up with this only now, this argument. I mean, I've checked this things they're only showing on Globebusters and things now is something I researched like 7 years ago.
Have you heard of that guy Ken Wheeler?
Yeah, that's where they get most.
I'm not sure if he's a Glober or not.
No, he's a Glober. But
yeah, but it's funny because he comes off as a flat earther to me when I listen to his stuff a lot of the times. Sometimes I wonder if what his personal cosmology is.
I think he's personally just avoiding to say he's flat Earth because he needs the subscribers. How much of these subscribers and stuff are Globers?
I think you're right. I think he's a closet flat earther. I really do.
So he has to play against the flat Earth and ridicule them a bit so he can keep his how can I say, keep his audience.
Exactly.
This is actually a video from Ken Wheeler, as far as I know. One of his very old videos where I'm showing how the magnetism affects the pattern of light with a laser. Yeah, it's
I
Ken
like
Wheeler.
his channel. He's got good stuff on there.
Yeah, some things I don't really agree with him with, but some things I would say he's quirky.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, that was the first video. I'm gonna check on comments because I haven't checked the comments yet, so I know what's going on. Hey, 32 people in. Good to see you all. Glad you could make it. Quite a few. How's the polls going? Because I put a poll up on what's name as well, who's for the Aether and not. 60%, 67% say no. So it's getting quite a majority say no. But like I said, if you do believe it, I am not here to ridicule you or anything. I once believed the Aether to exist as well. And there's still something to the argument, so I'm not, if you want to present something, it will be really awesome. I do have another video to present on this, because that was number 1. I have a number 2, and diamagnetism and Aether. So, do you have any comments to say, Mr. Scholar, or can I move along to the next video? I think I'm going to move along to the next video. Okay. So yeah, this is my number 2 Aether part video that I do have on my channel. I do advise, if you haven't seen number 1, go watch it first before you watch number 2.
On the particle can occur. This is the fundamental magnetic force. In this video, we will present a demonstration of the effect. In other videos, we will use the concept of the magnetic force to explain other demonstrations, including a jumping wire and a loudspeaker. This is a cathode ray tube, which produces a beam of electrons. The beam is visible due to argon gas in the tube. The electrons here are moving so fast that gravity is negative. Watch what happens when I bring a magnet near the beam. The beam deflects, which shows that there is a transverse force.
Now you see, they're saying now because it has a field attracting it, they have to say the Aether is the propagation medium.
Hey, Flatzo, have you heard of cymatics? CYMA.
Yeah?
TICS.
Yeah, I've heard of it. Have you, Have you checked anything onto it?
I just feel like if people wanted to understand the truth of this reality and how it's made, and what this happens.
It's quite interesting. We can actually do a whole discussion on somatics at a stage if you really wanted to. I'll just have to set up a nice presentation actually. Oh yeah, and if you guys don't know, Mr. Scholar has an awesome channel. Please do go and watch his channel. Mr. Scholar has some great archives that he shows through. Definitely worth it to watch. The Diamagnet experiment. I don't know if you've known Malcolm Bowden. He does some great, used to do some great presentations.
This produced interference fringes. He then rotated the whole table at 2 revolutions per second and found that the fringes changed. This result has very significant implications in science. It works as follows. A beam of light leaves the light source at the bottom left-hand corner and is split into 2 different beams, which we have coloured red and blue just to distinguish them. They travel around the circuit in opposite directions until they eventually reach the splitter, which also recombines them. There, they then go on to the photographic plate, where they have interference fringes. In this simplified version, we see that the beam is split into 2, the red and the blue again, and they go round the circuit and are recombined at the splitter and recombining prism, so that they again produce the fringes on the photographic plate. Now let us rotate the table. Before we do so, there is the very important subject of the effect of the ether. The Michelson-Morley experiment failed to detect the 30 kilometers per second motion of the Earth through the ether. So as to overcome...
Did you guys hear that? He said they failed to detect a motion of the Earth through the ether. Just pay attention, through the ether. That means they were trying to pick up the motion of the Earth through the ether. They could not pick it up.
On this problem, Einstein simply abolished the ether in his relativity theory. The very significant result of the Diamagnet experiment was that it proved that the ether existed. Let us see how it did this. It is a fundamental feature of relativity that it claims that as there is no ether, light travels away from a source at the same speed relative to the source, whether the source is moving or not. Thus, whether the table is turning or not, the fringe patterns should stay the same. But if the ether exists, once the light...
Wait, just real quick.
Yeah.
Just real quick.
Yeah.
The audio for the video is really low. If you want the audience,
Oh, is it very low?
I can barely hear it.
Okay, I'm going to put it a bit louder, see if it's going to work better.
The source. The speed of the light is controlled
Is that better?
by the ether, independent of the speed of the table, mirrors, etc., as we see here. So
Yeah,
let's
that's
see what
better.
happens when we rotate
Okay.
the table. Here, the light is split, and the red and blue lights go in opposite directions. But notice that the left-hand mirror has moved around in such a direction that the distance the red light has to travel is further. Now in relativity, the same time should be taken because the splitter is also moving and the distance between them is the same.
Mm-hmm.
But now imagine that the ether exists and the speed of the light is controlled by the stationary ether. Imagine the ether like a thick treacle that limits how fast the light can travel, independent of the motion of the light source, the splitter, or the mirrors.
See, this is what I was trying to explain. The ether is simply just believed to be a propagation medium. So it would be an invisible medium that is just that's changing the light propagation going through. So if it takes longer, it's because of the ether, in other words. So the Diamagnet disproved obviously Einstein's theory of relativity, because it would go the same. It doesn't matter because you're on the same reference frame. But because you've got a different reference frame and it has a different speed to the light, therefore they're claiming it is the ether. So it's just the belief that you have the ether as a propagation medium that changes the speed of the light.
The result is that the red light takes longer to reach the left-hand mirror. Similarly, the right-hand mirror is coming towards the blue light, so it reaches the mirror quicker. After they change ends, the red light again takes longer to reach the recombiner, whilst the blue light gets there quicker again. So they reach the photographic plate with a delay between them, and this changes the fringe pattern. In fact, Diamagnet, using the speed of the rotation of the table, calculated how much the fringes should change, and found that they did change by just that amount. The crucial feature of this experiment is that it demonstrates that the ether does exist, which demolishes relativity.
There's just a few things here. I agree that the Diamagnet effect disproves Earth's rotation, but this is why globebusters believe that it picked up the ether rotation because of the Diamagnet effect. But that is still just having a belief that there is a medium causing this. It could just be an effect of the rotation of the reference frame that is causing this to happen. I mean, there's a few things, but yeah, at the end of the day, it shows more for the ether if you believe it in the ether, and it shows it could be a different effect. How do we know what the effect is really causing it? I mean, how he is explaining it, yes, it shows there has to be some kind of media that causes propagation for it to slow down. So let's just go on.
How does the scientific establishment deal with this result? By muddying the waters with scientific gobbledygook. Wikipedia says, in the above discussion, the rotation mentioned is a rotation with respect to an inertial reference frame. Since this experiment does not involve a relativistic velocity, the same wording is valid both in the context of classical electrodynamics and special relativity. How on earth can it be valid in both theories?
Can't.
It clearly proves that the ether exists because the speed of the light is controlled by the ether, independent of the rotating table and mirrors.
So that is why you get the one hand where the people say the ether exists, because they have to say it has to have physical properties. That's why they say it's not physical, but it's manifest. This is the whole reason why they say it's manifest. It's because when you look at this and you try and explain it using the ether, then it makes sense because of the propagation of properties. But is this proof of the ether being physical? I don't think so. I just think it more shows denial that people, how can I put it? It shows that the earth is not moving. That's what this shows, the effect. But is it because of the ether? That's debatable.
This Diamagnet
In alchemy, Aether is air.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was saying earlier. I mean, it's the same as air. It's just everywhere. I mean, doesn't matter where you go in reality, there's always air somewhere. Even in a vacuum, there's air. So, who knows? I mean, some people have the belief that ether is just God. It's God omnipresent. That's all. It's I think it's different beliefs to everyone. So at the end of the day, the ether is just actually a belief because it's not scientifically possible to prove it. Because I think it's more of a, how can I put it, in a supernatural type of form, if you put it that way.
Airlines for their
Problem is, we're trying to
direction.
quantify something that's unquantifiable. You know what I'm saying? It's like trying to count all the beads of sand on a beach, right? I mean, good luck with that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But at least sand on the beach is physical. You actually have something of substance to be able to test. With the ether,
Right, this is even worse. This is even more difficult.
yeah, you don't really have substance. You just have a belief that it's there. I mean, like the Diamagnet, you can observe it and you can affirm the consequent that that's the reason for what you're seeing. But it's not actually proving that's what you see because of that. You just make an assumption that's the reason. So,
How about air that has energy moving in a direction through it? Like, that's how I look at Aether. How does that sound to you?
makes
Like
it
air
interesting.
with energy moving in
Yeah.
a direction.
Yeah, I mean that's why when you also have in a vacuum, you have different acceleration values. You never know. Could just be pressure.
It's like the alchemists were pretty on point with their description, if you ask me, with the air thing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it could just be pressure, and that could be the ether. That's why you have different acceleration
Oh, there
properties
you
and
go.
altitude because of pressure. Therefore, relative density works because of pressure. Pressure could be the key to everything here.
As the plane turns,
Well, it's
the change in the
Yeah.
kind of like atoms are like a philosophy too, really. Atomism or whatever it is.
Yeah, no, it's true because atom is not actually proven. It's a concept that actually works. I mean, if you use the concept of atomism, that's what everything is based upon. It's quite coherent, but is it actually proof that atoms exist? No. You can piggyback off the theory
I
of
think the
atoms.
Aether that way.
Yeah, and ether is exactly the same. You can piggyback off of the belief that the ether is existing, and you can work off of it, but it doesn't actually make it real. Just like atom, it doesn't actually mean it's real.
Exactly.
It's like time. When the time's a concept, how much of our things today is based on time? But it's just a concept. It's not physical. You have your timeline that you can have your duration measurements.
Oh
and
yeah,
stuff.
like when they try to run a conceptual medium through the scientific experiment or the scientific method, like
Yeah.
time, for example. Yeah.
Yeah, just because it's a control, so you can have a duration. Now they say it's physical, but it's not. Time is not physical. That's why they're never going to have time travel. There's no such thing
Yeah,
as
it's
time
conceptual.
travel. Yeah, it's very simple.
fringes are translated into a change in the direction of the plane that then registers on the cockpit compass. In addition, I have received comments from two scientists complaining that they were never taught about the Sagnac experiment. The first
That's actually true. Were you ever taught about the Diamagnet experiment and stuff in school? I never knew about it. Something that
Yeah. Very suspicious that they left cymatics out. Huh?
yeah, it's very, very interesting. I mean, they're very selective on what they do teach, though.
Yeah, bro. The chromatic scale is the visible spectrum, is the zodiac. All that shit's the same.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I mean, that's why even if you look into the occults and stuff today, there's some kind of knowledge that they have, and it's all linked because they have a deeper understanding of something that you do not get in schools. I mean, I know before
Right.
before I started getting to flat Earth and stuff, I was also looking at the different occults and things, and it's actually interesting what you get out of it. How the things are actually linked together with their histories and the different beliefs. They might have different beliefs altogether, but they're linked with the same type of knowledge.
Well, yeah, a super long time ago, alchemy, all means God, and chemi is chemistry. So it was God's chemistry.
Mhm.
They would take God out. What do you think that means?
Yeah. It's like they're taking the spiritual and the natural world and they're trying to combine it together.
Yeah, and look at the current model we subscribe to, right? Is it not completely robbed of any spiritual aspect?
Yeah, it is actually. That's why I said even when it comes to the ether and stuff, it's got a spiritual aspect to it.
Yeah, just like atomism, that's the part they don't want to admit,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it falls under scientism actually.
After 35 years as a professional physicist with a thesis in relativity, I only learned of Sagnac's experiment last year. Another correspondent complained that his professors
We obviously
never
don't need
mentioned
to see
these
him
things
just
there.
saying
For
this all
my
the
life,
time.
I have heard the story of how Copernicus's theory came to prevail. I would have thought that major experiments.
Yeah, I got another video after this one. I'm going to first check some of the comments. How's it going, everybody? Good to see you. Glad you. The Jollyman. Ether is simply misdescribed and poorly understood. Only experimentation and evolving can determine this. I 100% agree. It has to be experimented to find out. But how are you going to have an experiment and call it science if you don't even have an hypothesis for it in the first instance? That's why I said I used to believe with all my heart that yes, there was definitely something there. But after a lot of research, I sort of came to the conclusion that it's just a belief. But like I said, I'm not banging on everybody's door. If you want to choose to believe in the ether, whatever your version of the ether is, it's up to you. Me personally, I can't prove it. I came to a dead end where I realized I can't prove the ether. So to me, it's just there has to be something, but what it is, I don't know, so I don't take it any further. That's about it. Hey Sven, good to see you. Thanks for coming. Glad everybody's here. If you haven't already, please just do hit that thumbs up and share, as it really does help push the video out further to the audience. Okay, so you ready for the last video, Scholar?
Let's do it.
Okay. Is showing, I hope so. Yeah, okay. This was me trying to show the different magnetic properties to everything. I think this was like 4 years ago. People believe then it's the stars moving because of that in the ether, which is a liquid substance, you could say. But then how does it explain on Earth? Because we're not walking through liquid unless you see it as air.
Might not think of water as being magnetic, but it is. And so are graphite, aluminum, and glass. This is a new and different category of magnetism called either para or diamagnetism, and it's different from the magnetism that you're used to. You're probably already familiar with ferromagnetism. Ferro means iron. An unmagnetized piece of iron, or nickel, or cobalt, becomes a magnet in the presence of a magnetic field. The effect is strong and lasts even after the magnet is removed. Paramagnetism is a similar effect, except that it's much weaker and temporary. Aluminum is a good example of a paramagnet.
It's amazing how the different
And
properties
so is
have different
oxygen,
magnetic
which is
effects.
attracted to magnets. Here, I have a few milliliters of liquid oxygen, which sticks to the magnet. I'll explain why later. Gadolinium oxide and cupric sulfate are good examples of paramagnetic substances. Cupric sulfate is a salt that can be picked up by a magnet. Diamagnetic materials are exactly the opposite of paramagnetic. They are always repulsed. They would rather die than be in a magnetic field.
This is why I laugh when they come and say dielectric, because it pushes on diamagnetic. That means it's not going to have the magnetic properties that they're pushing for.
An important important example of a diamagnetic material is graphite. This specially made pyrolytic graphite is repelled by a magnetic field. Don't be confused. This is not static electricity or eddy currents. Graphite is
Don't be confused. This is not static electricity or eddy currents. Thank you. This is what I was trying to explain to Whitsitt, but yeah, like I said, he was ignoring me, so I couldn't explain it to him. Because this is where their whole argument is based on. They think it's electromagnetism and eddy currents, but it's not. Just this alone dispels that whole notion.
Right, it's not.
Sorry?
Yeah, I agree, bro.
So this alone dispels their whole argument already that the ether is dielectric and whatever they call it, deceleration.
repelled by a magnet, always, both by the north and south end. Pyrolytic graphite is a grown crystal of flat carbon layers which maximizes the diamagnetic effect. Of course, the best diamagnets are superconductors, which at low
quantum
temperatures
locking.
provide exact opposite repulsion to whatever magnetic field is present when they're chilled. They are perfect diamagnets.
This is really awesome though.
The most famous and powerful diamagnetic is bismuth, element number 83 on the periodic table. The bismuth-powered boat sails toward the weaker magnetic fields. One way to check whether an object is diamagnetic or paramagnetic is to see how it aligns itself in a magnetic field. Diamagnetic objects like glass will rotate to avoid magnets. Here, we see that the glass is diamagnetic because it twists to get to the weaker magnetic field. But aluminum rotates into the field, typical of a parallel paramagnet.
I find this very interesting. I mean, if you had to just see this demonstration, you'd understand that there is no actual medium around it. It's literally just a field. It's all it is. So when they have the belief that the ether is this field that has the propagation, this is what brought me to first thing how it can't be a propagation medium. It's simply just a field. The field doesn't require a medium to work. The field itself is the medium.
On the periodic table, we see that aluminum has 3 valence electrons.
Sorry?
Don't they try to attribute the downward electrical whatever to gravity too?
This is what gravity is actually based upon. Well, the dielectric deceleration or whatever. That's why it's so close, entwined with gravity.
That's it, deceleration thing.
Yeah, because it's actually entwined with gravity. Because it's got the same principles and effects as gravity. Because it's manifest from a non-manifest nothing. I mean...
Right.
It's got a force from nothing. Let's put it that way. So that's why I try to work out that density disequilibrium equation that I made, and saying it's just the static potential, which is just the short way of saying you put your potential energy into it, and because there's pressure, that pressure release gives the direction, which gives the acceleration force. But yeah, it's simple. When they push in the dielectric acceleration, it's the same as them sort of saying, I know they don't agree with gravity, but it's practically the same as saying gravity because it's got the same nuances. It's got no...
Yeah, because I've heard
manifest-
people try to explain gravity using the downward dielectric, whatever.
Yeah, it's got the same principles. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, well, hopefully I can get Bob on sometime and we can actually talk about it, because I think it'll be quite an interesting discussion. Like I said, I'll try to contact Whitsitt on Discord and stuff. He's just plain out ignoring me, so I don't know. I don't know what I had done to him.
I mean, I'm on team relative density as far as the gravity thing goes.
Yeah, I mean, relative density is scientifically proven. You can literally write a hypothesis, you can have an experiment, and you can test it. With dielectric acceleration, they have to take something like magnetism, and then they have to induce a, a field, which is a magnetic electromagnetic field, to create the effect that they call based on the ether, which is just a hijacking of what the field really is.
It's like the pseudo-harmonium force-based stuff, huh?
Yeah, exactly. You creating a non-manifest world to manifest a force that comes from nothing. That's exactly it. I don't know how otherwise to put it.
So what does it take to understand what it means for something to be a paramagnet or a diamagnet? You have to know what the electrons are doing. Consider, for example, aluminum. We see from the periodic table that aluminum has 3 valence electrons. That's 2s and 1p. Now it's that unpaired electron that makes it a paramagnet. This unpaired electron enables it to become magnetized.
That's
and
why
it's that unpaired electron that is free to be magnetized and attracted by the magnet. But what about a diamagnet like water? Yes, the water molecule. It has all of its electrons paired. It will not be magnetized. In fact, water is repelled by a magnetic field. The electrons come to lower energy as they are moved away from the magnet.
This is also why when they say the tides and things are caused by the magnetic fields, how? It's repelled by the magnetic fields. Yes, you have the salt that is attracted by it, but you have different salinities of the ocean. So why isn't it counteracting each other then?
Yeah, it's double speak.
So yeah, they fall under the belief that we have the cathode ray and everything, you know, with a positive and a negative, and then instead of looking further to listen, let's try and link it together, they don't look further. If you just look a bit further, you see, okay, no, it can't actually work. And that's exactly what caused me at the end of the day to say, sorry, I can't accept ether. And that's just my opinion on it, because to me this is
I know what you mean, bro.
Yeah, this is to me much more substantial evidence that it doesn't exist than that it does exist.
In conclusion, when something is a paramagnet or a diamagnet, it tells you what its electrons are doing. In the case of a paramagnet, it has at least one unpaired electron. In the case of a diamagnet, it has mostly paired electrons.
Sorry about that, but loud. So yeah, this was the days when I was dabbling in the ether and trying to see if I can prove it. So yeah, that was about it. I think this was shown on number 1. Yeah, it's the same one.
You know, I think maybe I could get a hypothesis going for it, maybe, but like provable, I don't know, man. Yeah, it's like a conceptual medium.
So yeah. But yeah, it's just conceptual. Everybody takes it and then they put their own spin on it. That's why nobody can really explain when you ask them what is the ether. They can't tell you, because they're practically piggybacking off what the person taught them. So if you come into Flat Earth, which most people do, they come, and who do they first usually see is Globebusters, which I'm really grateful for, because they've helped a lot of Flat Earthers come to realization. But because when you first come into it, you don't really know any better, you're just going to accept it as fact. If they're going to tell you about the ether, you're going to take it the ether as fact. And that was exactly with me. But being me, I do actually research the things before I talk about it. And yeah, after a while I realized it's just not. But yeah, if everybody wants to believe it, I'm not going to. I mean, heck, I could be wrong. But based on what I showed you now, what's going to be more evidence for it or against it?
The way I look at it is like, I give our ancestors the benefit of the doubt, because when I look at the architecture they left behind, I conclude that they were more advanced. And if they were more advanced and they're telling us about it, then I give them the benefit of the doubt that something could exist that way. But yeah, from a physics point of view, I don't know. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, no, there's definitely something got to do with frequency and free energy. Nikola Tesla had something. I mean, look at the Tarian stuff with the histories. There's definitely something with ancient civilizations on the architecture that they had. There was definitely
Yeah, we're missing
something
a piece of the puzzle.
There's something that we were not taught that they actually. I don't know. How do you know they just don't do a reset every few hundred years? How do you know that? No, because they change
Yeah, I
history
think
all the
that's the
time.
case, but
Because I mean, they do change history all the time.
yeah, and it makes you wonder how many times have they done this to us? Like 4, 5, 6, 10, 100? Like just how far indoctrinated are we?
Exactly. I mean, at the end of the day, we all just have speculation and what we can go on. I mean, there's so much things in history that is just not explainable. It's impossible. But there's definitely, when it comes to the architecture, it can't be coincidence. There's just something about the way they architect the things. I mean, there's civilizations that never met each other and they have the same type of alignment to the stars, you could say. Why? What would the reason be for that? Dan the Waterman, exactly. Just because you wear a lab coat doesn't make you a scientist. A scientist is actually someone that just does the scientific method. You don't have to wear a lab coat, you don't have to be an astrophysicist or string theorist or whatever. Those aren't actually scientists. They just get paid to be called scientists.
Yeah, they're shills.
I mean, yeah. If we really wanted to, I think we can also then go and get a degree and get paid to lie to the public about gravity if we wanted to. But we're honest with ourselves.
And yeah, that's the difference. You know, it's not. Some of us are here, we're trying to figure out the truth, and some of us are here just to talk shit the entire time, make fun of the other side.
Yeah, that's the thing. I know I'm a very honest person. I'm gonna say it straight to someone's face if something like that. So, as I said, I was trying to avoid this ether argument for a while, but I thought, hey, let's just have a chat about it, get everybody's side of it and everybody's opinion, because I'm not gonna attack anybody if they believe about it. It's everybody have their own opinions. That's what makes a person human. Hey, Matt.
Did you ever hear about the North Pole being a giant magnetic lodestone, and that's why all magnets point to the North Pole?
Yeah, I've even heard that.
I mean, all compasses point to the North Pole.
The magnetic north, yeah. Yeah, I've heard that. I've even heard that. That's why they say there's the great hole that goes into the center of Earth from there, because of that. Where they say the black sun comes from, you could say. They say it comes from there because of the magnetic.
Yeah, and you know that old song, there's a hole in the bottom of the sea.
Mm-hmm.
There's a hole in the bottom.
Yeah, that's actually quite interesting. I think that's also where the hollow earth theory started coming along, because of that.
Yeah, there's more truth in that stuff in the nursery rhymes than the fucking curriculum they give us.
Yeah.
It's like, a twinkle, twinkle, little star, like a diamond in the sky.
I wonder what you are, exactly. Hey, Matt Will East, good to see you. You're more than welcome to chat if you want to chat, dude.
Hi, yeah, just listening in. You know, Aether seems to be a belief system.
Exactly.
So, how do you know?
Yep, just like atomism.
Atomism, okay.
What is your stance on the ether, though?
It's a faith. That replaced gravity. They choose to believe in this unmanifested phenomenon. So to me, it's just fanciful imagination.
Yeah, exactly. Like I was saying, the majority of the people that believe in the ether first come into the flat Earth, and then they don't know any better, so they're going to take it as this is fact, and you have to. How do you know? You're trying to replace your belief of having a gravity because you were just a globe believer now, and well, this is how it works in flat Earth, so obviously it has to be true.
Yeah, they want to establish a downward bias,
Yeah,
but they ignore what you can science, like you just mentioned earlier, the relative density. I mean, we have a perfectly viable scientific explanation already,
yeah.
and I don't understand why you need to expound on what's already explained.
I think they're falling more on the lines of they want it to be true. So because they want to be true so much, they have to clutch at every straw they can to make it true. I think that's, yes, exactly, T. Brown. There is no such thing as a downward bias. It's simply just density. You have your different densities, the pressure causes the different acceleration values, and there we go.
If the ancients were more advanced than we think, could they have had things like internet or like Wi-Fi? And could the Aether have been their Wi-Fi?
That's actually quite interesting. I want to know.
Their word for Wi-Fi.
Maybe they had a different type of technology. We just don't realize it. I mean, like we got mostly today is based on silicone and plastics and stuff. In those days, they could have got it right to have what different type of materials that worked electronically that we never know about. You don't know. I mean, they found quantum computers and stuff that is like centuries old that people aren't even able to disfigure and figure out how they made it in those days. Literally. It's like computers that were made out of gold and copper and stuff that just, it would be, even today's technology would be almost impossible to make.
I'm just saying because it's wireless frequency in the air, and the alchemists refer to Aether as air. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Air is everywhere. Even in a vacuum, there's air. And that's probably why we have different acceleration values when you go up with different pressure zones and the different altitudes. That's what I said. You never know. It could be the correlation to that. Nobody knows.
It is interesting, the similar construction techniques of the ancient world, and it's almost as if there was a worldwide communication system where everyone's getting their information from the same source because they were using the same technique worldwide.
Exactly, and their myths and legends are all similar too.
Yeah. I'm just trying to find something quickly on the internet.
Well, you know, there's the Ethernet cord, right? It's pretty similar to Ethernet.
The Ethernet, yeah. That's why it's based in that's why it's called Wi-Fi, wireless, because the Ethernet, because it's propagating through nothing. That's why they say it needs to have something. See, like this, the Antikythera.
Yeah, Wi-Fi is a new term for us. So is Wi-Fi the old term for the ancient world's internet? I don't know.
You never know. I don't know if you've seen the Antikythera mechanism before. This is quite interesting.
Oh yeah, the calendar computer they found in the ocean or something.
Yeah, I mean, what is up with that thing? I mean, how the hell did they build that? How it's so complex and they got it.
That's what I'm saying, man. The whole thing's BS. You know, they tell us our ancestors were groveling around the dirt and stuff, and they were super advanced architecture technology. What the hell?
It just doesn't make sense. The things that these guys had. It's really awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how mythology actually leads you to a lot of the truth.
Yeah. That's why I say I think history's changed so much that you don't know about a lot of things they keep from us. Definitely. That's why when they come and say, oh, you don't trust the government. How much technology does the government
Are you
hide
muted,
from
Matt?
us? Sorry?
Yeah, I was just listening.
Oh, sorry, I thought Matt was muted. I thought he was trying to talk.
No one's muted. Like I said, everybody's welcome to come in and chat. It is Discord Wednesday, so chat is open for all. We can discuss anything. It doesn't really have to be Aether, by the way. Which is something interesting I thought we can pick up because I've been seeing FED and Glowbusters having it out the last few weeks or something on it. I thought I'd just give a bit of a how can I put it, take on the whole Aether thing, give my opinion on how I see it. Jolly Man. Oh no, it confirms Babylonian Sorrow Cycles and Mayan codexes. How strange. Exactly, Jolly Man. Really weird, eh? But no, only heliocentric, only the heliocentric model can detect and predict eclipses and things. But they've been doing it for centuries and centuries
Celestial
before
event.
that. Sorry?
Well, you know, I've been in the Bible. It says we'll forget about the seasons and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, doesn't it seem like the average person has forgotten the seasons in the sense that they think the sun's going around the earth and all this crazy shit?
Yeah, no, it's the truth. I mean, most of the people today they're desensitized to observing. They think looking with a telescope in the stars now, having the heliocentric belief system is actually observing, but it's not. They're just taking already observed cycles that's been cycling for thousands and thousands of years, and they're just trying to reify it to their globe model and then call it observation.
It's like when they're teaching you as a kids about science, they sneak in their religion. That's heliocentrism. But the issue is, by the time we're grown, we can't distinguish.
Yeah, you can't really distinguish because you're so indoctrinated into it. You lying to yourself to believe it.
Yeah, and it takes so much free time worth of research to come to these conclusions that usually you don't have a lot of other things going on in your life. You know what I mean? Like you're not usually a college professor, or because you've been only researching on the indoctrinated stuff, the approved model, the approved curriculum.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I mean, if you taught how to think, which they do today, they teach you what to think and how to think. You go through that process so much that by the time you're finally on your 2 feet, you're so programmed to think that way, it's difficult to actually do something on your own and realize, listen here, this is actually wrong. You just accept it. And unfortunately, that's the normal of society today.
You know, I think the main reason they try to keep these lies to us is because otherwise we're going to try exploring ourselves, and they don't want us to be exploring. Kind of like on Truman's Show when he's like, I want to be an explorer. And the teacher's like, no, we explored everything already.
Yeah, exactly. The Truman Show is actually so truthful. It's actually funny.
Yeah, Truman, the true man.
It's got so much hidden messages in that one video, in that one movie. It's actually insane.
Yeah, the guy that's running the show, the director, his name is Christoph, of Christ, right?
Exactly. And you even see at the one stage where he's actually how he's viewing the earth as a flat earth, as you can see the whole circle They reference the Bible a lot there.
If you actually watch the movie, like really slow motion in the very beginning, it actually shows them zooming in on the firmament of the Earth. It's the dome of the studio.
Dome, yeah.
Yeah.
It shows it as a flat Earth with a dome, and he's looking upon them as grasshoppers, as like the Bible says. It's actually
and the whole world tries to keep him from exploring, right? Everybody, no, you'll go to jail. No, you'll drown. No, we're trying for a baby. Blah blah blah, right? He finally breaks from society and sails out there to explore. What does he do? He hits a wall.
In the middle of the ocean. And he wasn't even that far out.
Imagine that.
Yeah. That makes you think it's the same with
Is there something they're trying to show us here?
Yeah, remember, that's how the occult works. They have to give truth in plain sight. So it's how their magic works. They have to show you without showing you, kind of thing. Because if
I'll show you, but you have to take my word for it.
Yeah, if they don't trick you after showing you, then their magic's got no substance, you can say. Because if something does happen, what's going to happen one day if, let's say, everybody wakes up and something happens? They're just going to turn around and say, but look, yeah, we showed you this. Yeah, we showed you this. It was your own choice to choose what you chose. We were trying to tell you, in other words.
Hey, right.
Hey, Bob Globus, good to see you. It is Chat Wednesday. If you want to come into Discord, you're more than welcome, Bob, to come talk. We were talking a bit about the Aether earlier, so you might want to rewind and go and look. I'm just giving my thoughts on it and stuff. It would be great to hear more on how you explain it and everything based on your opinion on the Aether. If you wanted to, that's what I'm saying. Bye, Dan Waterman. Thanks for being here. Glad you could make it. Have a great evening or day further wherever you are. And then you get trolls like Real Sagan. First are simpletons that make Homer look like an Einstein. Okay, if you say so. That's why you believe in a flying floating testicle in a natural violation vacuum. Yeah. I mean, everything the globe is built upon contradicts itself. Even its own radius mathematics contradicts itself. It's insane.
Can you demonstrate a spinning water ball for me?
How dare you ask that? Hey Travis, good to see you. Hey Brian Lee, good to see you. Thanks for coming in chat. And Rags to Riches, great to see you, Paul. Glad you could all make it.
No.
Do you guys have any thing to say about the matter? Hey Johnny, how's it going?
Yeah, man, I think it's possible, man. It's I'm looking into it more and more. I've looked into it a lot in the past, and it just kind of went away. But I'm not gonna say that I think that gas is going down. Whether I'm arguing for the Aether or not, I don't think gas goes down.
Yeah, gas goes in all directions. That's definitely how it goes.
I think that's the hiccup that made the because the Aether, the claim of it is kind of a response to their their atoms, their electrons and photons and shit. So it's kind of a, but the I think it does leave the realm of physics, of true science, of true natural science. But I think it does kill the globe on its face. That's why I'm a fan of it. But I'm not, but I'm on the fence as far as like, I'm not betting nothing on it that it exists. But I could argue for it. I could argue against it, man. But I like the discussion, man. It's fun to talk about, and it is a globe killer if there was a way to prove it.
So you're saying it would be more feasible to have the Aether than to have gravity, in other words.
No, I don't think it has anything to do with gravity. It has to do with light. Light, whether it's a particle or a wave,
dives at, energy. So you can, a lot of people dodge even talking about it, but like, what is electricity? Why is there more energy in a vacuum? There are questions that are worth asking. Like I said, leaving the realm of natural science, I think the hiccup is when they started tying ether into gravity and saying, saying gases go down. I think that's where the contention came over at FED, because I on that case I agree with FED. Like gas expands in all directions, man. So when you try and tie it in with gravity, maybe does have something to do with the bias of a downward whatever. But as far as claiming gas going down, man, that just I don't know if you could ever convince me of that, man. So we need to separate ether from gravity so we can have a philosophical discussion about it on all the channels, and unite.
Yeah. Yeah, but like I was trying to explain, that's why everybody has their own opinion on what the ether is and everything. I think I did give a very coherent statement on my thoughts on the ether. So if you guys do want to, you can always go watch the beginning of the stream, as I showed some of 3 videos that I did when I started my YouTube channel, and then my opinion on it, because like I said, everybody has their own breakdown and their own opinion on belief of what the ether is. Because like I said, with you believe it's
imagine that though, man. I got to finish my whole point, and I'm not even kicked out or muted or nothing, man.
No, man.
And I still didn't prove ether, but I got to talk about it. Imagine that, man.
Yeah,
how did I pull that off?
Everybody has their own opinion, and I'm not going to discriminate anybody for having their opinion on something. Definitely not.
Yeah, but I'm not going to treat my brothers like a piece of shit because of their philosophical beliefs, man.
I'm 100% on that. I mean, why do we want to have separation between everybody just because we have different beliefs?
I've sent a message to Austin, man. I think he's got a new Discord, man, because I hadn't got a response from the old name that I had, but I think he's got a new Discord name, and I think he's even having chats in it, because I went to look, because I sent a message and I didn't get no response for the last few.
Yeah,
I've seen.
Because I've been trying.
Spelled like his last name, dude.
Yeah, because I've been trying to. I've been trying to respond to him. He hasn't come back to me either. So
yeah, but I sent him. I messaged him that you were doing a little old demo on the possibility of the ether, and that he was invited here to chat, and she was asking about him. So maybe he'll see it.
Well, maybe he'll still show up. You never know. Like I said, Bob, you can always come in as well. It'd be great to talk to you. Definitely, Bob. I'm not gonna scream or shout or anything. I mean, like, I do appreciate what you do for the community. Definitely. Just like I appreciate everybody else that they do for the community. Everybody has their own opinions and own beliefs, and I'm not going to break anyone down for it.
Like, we're stuck in the middle. We like FED and Globusters, man. So we don't like hearing the bullshit. So I mean, I could bitch a little bit about both of them, and I'm sure they both could bitch about me some, man. But I mean, to me, it's all the community, man. I like watching Nathan, pummel freaking mules, stubborn fanny flat earthers. I like Bob and all his knowledge, man. He brought so much to this community, man. I like them both, man. I don't care if they argue. I guarantee you, they could schedule a debate and they'd have everybody on every side of anti-flat earthers, ether believers. They'd have everybody watching for it, man, and enjoying the shit out of it, man. So hopefully they can,
Yeah, hopefully they can work out the differences.
I don't care if we're fans of both of them.
Ooh. Sorry, I'm busy typing and now all of a sudden it's...
It's like this, man. It's 2 different types of debate. So if you're gonna debate with a strict style like FED, you've got to nip it like that in the bud, or else you're gonna leave the door open for for the Globers bullshit. You got to be consistent. I understand what Nathan's saying. I don't agree with his aggression toward other members, you know, but I'm sure, you know, other people feel different about different things. And then Bob is addresses them. He's more like me in a sense that, you know, he'll hear him out and let him beg the question and try and debate with logic. And because there are, to me, certain things that I don't want to ignore. But I do like Nathan's strict style. I like watching it. It's just, you know, it doesn't make for an interesting debate. It makes for a skunk. You know, you're going to win every time if you debate like that. It took them a long time to develop all these arguments. I appreciate the fact that they did that. They brought a lot. But it's two different styles, and they need to realize that. Nathan needs to realize that Bob is diving in deeper and coming up with good explanations to a lot of this pseudoscience that the Globe do go wrong. And Bob, you got to realize that Nathan is you can't let people come in his show begging the question and shit, man. It'd be a double standard, man. He's got to nip it in the bud, and he can't entertain any of that shit, man. They spent years fine-tuning the debate with just facts, and he's got to stick to that script, man.
Yeah,
so hopefully they can understand that.
Yeah, you see, Nathan's got his own style of running. He's also got his own character. So where Bob doesn't really mind, how can I put it, begging the question, as you said, and falling out of the realms of science. FED with Nathan is strictly more scientific. So you have your natural phenomena observed, and he sticks to the method, and that's what FED is about. It's more about the scientific inquiry, where Bob and them is more about exploring everything, even if it's spiritual and stuff. You understand? So it's two different, styles that clash.
There's a thing though, man. There's like even Quantum Eraser said it 2 weeks ago when I was on his show on Ballbusters. Like when he brought up the photoelectric effect. There are other ways to prove things besides science. And when you take like the interferometer, and I mean it's a device that people use and travel around with, and it detects movement, you know. So you can like you can stick to ignore that, man. But Bob is more knowledgeable about the new technology, and you know, he's engineer with the microwave towers and stuff like that, signals, and he knows more about that stuff, man.
Yeah, he knows RF waves and everything.
So I think Bob is good to address the people on, you know, the technology debate.
Yeah, Bob knows his RF waves and everything, that's for sure.
We are split down the middle on the vote. I find that very interesting. 60 votes in, 50-50.
Wow. Shows you how split everybody really is. That's what I said. It doesn't really help to separate everybody then. I mean, if everybody's got their own opinions, why not just work together?
Exactly, man. I like them both, man. I like them both. I mean, I got a couple things I don't agree with them on both of them. Nobody agrees with everything somebody says. That's not the kind of people we are. We're not followers, you know. We're brothers, you know.
But that
we have our own thought. You know, no idea is a bad idea. So we all come up with all kinds of ideas. We're wrong sometimes. It happens, man.
Yeah, but that's what makes.
And we learn, right?
Yeah, that what makes us different from the Globers. Otherwise, I mean, if we weren't a truther community and we just parroted everything what the other person says and just accepted everything as the person you follow, then what does it help to say you're a truther community? That's what the Globe guys do. That's why they all sit in the shithole that they're sitting now, because they have to parrot their nonsense that they can't even believe themselves, because they have to have the same narrative. We don't have to have any narrative. We just simply convey what we observe in reality. So if we don't agree with each other, that means we are logical thinkers. We don't have that cognitive belief pain anymore that's controlling us to know, listen, yeah, this and that. It's as simple as that. I really do hope Bob and Nathan could sort it out sometime though. I mean, think what great content we can get together if Glowbusters and FED can start working together.
I think there's I mean, I hate to say it, but there's some identity politics, I think, going on. You know, I think that's part of it too. Or you can wrap yourself up into a worldview so tightly that you identify in a position. That is your identity supposed to be wrapped up in a worldview or a specific position? What is it? I think that's some of this. That's where the ego, I think, is a factor. We want to let it go. We want to question. I mean, it's supposed to be why we're all, you know, that's where we're at right now anyway, by questioning, letting go.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's part of what I see on too. I'm on the eyes of some people right now that I'm out there somewhere. I guess you know. I'm not gonna remember that. Because I question somebody, question something.
I mean,
If you start talking about light and energy and electricity, I mean, even if you're coming from a mathematical perspective, I mean, you almost have to choose some model, some setup, or just don't talk about it. You know, if you don't want to talk about energy, period, or electricity, or light, you know, you almost have to choose to be in the discussion. You have to have a stance, and there's only a couple choices, really, man. Particle or wave. You know, basically, that's what it boils down to. It's not exactly that cut and dry, but that's what it always boils down to.
I don't know if you guys have been hearing me discuss this about the speed of light issue. I mean, there's too many things that seem to indicate that light has a speed, and I've heard on both sides, the FE side and then on the Aether side, that there is no speed, but we have devices that use that speed to calculate things. So either the apparatus is designed wrong, or the engineers that designed it don't understand the concept and they just did it, or this understanding is flawed. But even, you know, if it's light as a particle or a wave, either way, or an agitation in the ether, which I think I finally got that out of earlier today, if that propagation has a speed, you know, so what's wrong with saying that light has a speed either way? You know?
Who says that light don't have a speed?
I think the
Out of
problem.
curiosity, I don't mean that smart ass. I mean seriously, like who
I think
says
the
it?
I think the problem comes.
I was listening to Nathan's show today, and I heard Arwen say it, I think roughly, and I think I even had Nathan allude to it, and then on the after show earlier today, it was Napalm and I don't think Witsit was in there, but Napalm and other people arguing that light does not have a speed. And I'm like,
I think the problem comes in when they try and equivocate the one-way speed of light, because it's never been proven. It's just literally just they think it's got one-way speed or two-way.
well,
That's exactly what it is. It's impossible to measure the one-way speed because you'd have to be faster than light itself to be able to measure it, and that wouldn't fit into with causality, would it?
Well, here's the thing. Just logically think this through for a second. This is really use logic and philosophy. If light does not have a speed, but there's a two-way speed, right? There's no one-way speed that we can validate, but there seems to be a two-way speed we can validate, right? Okay, now you have one of two options, okay? And like I use the laser distance range finder or laser distance finder. Okay, if light does not have a speed, then that device would not work. But let's say that obviously it does work. Let's go through the two options. If light's instantaneous, that means when it leaves the thing, it's instantaneously hitting, let's say, a piece of drywall that I'm measuring with it. And I got my one that my wife uses to measure it with. Okay, now, if it's instantaneous, something has to be delayed, right? Because that's what speed is. It's rate over time, distance over time. So something is delaying it. But if I'm shooting the same piece of drywall at 2 feet or 2 inches or 5 feet or 10 feet, and I do notice the register difference, so where's the delay occurring to cause that reading? So if it's instantaneous, then it has to be the drywall, in a sense, holding on to the light for just a second, knowing the distance to be able to give it the reading in the device. That doesn't make logical sense. So there seems to have to be at least a two-way speed of light, at least, the one way.
Yeah,
That logically makes sense.
I mean, you could cut it in half. I mean, I'm sure they average it out depending on the medium to give us like range finders and radar detectors, shit like that. But I want to restate it. There's no way to prove the two-way or the one-way speed of light because we'd have to be moved. But that really gets so deep, man, because then you start talking about virtual particles and shit, you know, spooky action at a distance. It just gets so deep, but it always boils back down to particle or wave. No matter what, every time, if you debate it properly, you know, it's going to come back down to arguments for waves or particles.
See, even in that argument, that's what I could say this. I can throw a baseball at a wall, and let's say I can't measure the one-way speed of the wall, but I can measure the, you know, how long it takes and the distance and calculate it. And I say, well, roughly it should be, because actually, probably the return trip would be slower than the initial trip, because some of the energy from my throw is going to be absorbed by the wall, so the return trip might be slightly slower than the one-way, you know, the first throw. But like the same thing with a wave. You know, a wave ripples through a pond, and I can measure the rate of that first wave going through the pond, you know, until it hits the other side, and measure the rate when the wave comes back to me. You know, in either case, there's a rate involved or speed involved. You understand? Whether it's a wave or a particle, it's the same.
Yeah, really, I don't think anybody's arguing that. I sure hope they're not, because like I said, that's how we get radar detectors. That's how we get range finders. I mean, I got a laser right here where I could point it at something and tell me the speed. But yeah, there's no way to prove the one-way speed of light. But so when it comes down to the wave and the particle, and then that boils down to the ether for the energy and electricity and light, or particles. In my opinion, they don't know. Nobody knows for sure. The particle, you know, the model is pretty much, you know, they had to call it discrete packet. They had to call it a particle, a discrete packet of light. You know, they had, but they have to call it a massless particle. So there's problems with that because it doesn't conserve momentum. They can't have it conserve momentum, or they ain't measuring nothing. No moon bounce. I mean, it's just like it's a good debate, really, man, because there's so much to talk about. There's so many roads you can go down. But if it is a wave, then then there has to be an ether, because something's got to be waving, and yeah, and that would have the light, you know, the induction or the perturbation of the light would have a speed. I think most people who argue for the ether acknowledge that. And then if it's a particle, they had to they had to make it a particle so they could count it. They had to pick the smallest amount they could get at the time and quantify it to put it in computers. How are you going to have devices? How are we going to have like voltmeters and simulations on computers and programs if we don't give it a value? So that doesn't mean it really exists, though.
Yeah, you have to have a construct of some sort of unit measure to be able to work something out. If you don't set a value, then nothing will work. That's why the construct of time works so well, because they've set the value to time.
Inventions and assumptions.
Yeah.
What a world.
That's why when the people come and say technology is science, I laugh at them. You can use science in technology, but technology is not science. Technology can be used based on science observation, but it's definitely technology is not science.
If I'm being honest, if I debate, like I'm usually debating against one or the other, not really for one or the other, but it's easier to debate against light being a particle, because then you wind up with like electron and then virtual electrons. If you follow it to its true end, you wind up with clouds, like electron clouds, and in which they give orbits and call it spin when it's just like vibration, when you know it's just vibration and freaking and basically
It's frequency.
you know, they measure as frequencies, waves, right? I don't know, man. To think that radio waves are particles, that's a tough one for me. But I don't know.
Yeah, I was watching a debate today. I can't believe it was such a useless debate. on Modern Day Debates. It was with Nathan Thompson and Flanaday Saints against, was it Amy chick from Modern Day Debates and
Yeah.
Jay Turner. You guys watched that? T-Jump. Did you watch that?
Yeah, I seen it.
I cannot believe the rubbish arguments that came out of there. It was sad. I mean, I know guys that just come into the argument now that have better arguments than what they presented.
Dude, Flatterday Saints, Flatterday, if you're listening, bro, I love you, much love, man. But man, you gotta stay off the debate, man. If you ain't no substance, bro, I'm just telling you, man. You didn't help Nathan, man. I'm just saying, bro. But we like listening to you and shit, man. So don't get me wrong.
Yeah, he's
love your
awesome.
videos and everything else.
He's an awesome guy.
But maybe they came with such old ass arguments, like Amy and T-Jump come with that caught him off guard, you know, because we ain't heard some of the dumb shit they brought up in years and years.
I also think he gave Nathan Thompson most of the chance to talk though, because I haven't seen Nathan Thompson for a while, so it was actually good to see him back in the scene a bit. But have you noticed how he asked him, I think it was over 25 times, just to demonstrate gas pressure without a containment? And what was J. Tump's argument? Gas is no longer a gas if there's no container. I mean, what?
Yeah, well, no, what he was basically saying, if he'd have said it properly, then Nathan could have just said, look, walk outside. That proved that the gas is contained, you know, because T-Jump was saying it in a way that I don't think Nathan understood what he was saying until the very end.
Yeah, but even
questioning, he didn't realize what T-Jump was saying was, look, if we take the gas out of the container, it's still gas. In other words, if we let it out in the atmosphere, it's. But what T-Jump's failing to realize is, yeah, that's still under 14.7 psi, approximately pressure, and that's still high pressure. So if Nathan would have caught on to that sooner,
yeah, but
shut that down.
Nathan should have just told him there's a difference between gas and gas pressure. That's what he should have called him out on. He didn't call him out on gas pressure. He just said a gas is still a gas even without containment, which is true. A gas is not going to change it. But J. Trump thinks that when gas goes through a phase change, it's still gas. Just like he says, if water is frozen, it's still water. No, if water's frozen, it's ice. It's no longer water. It's gone through a phase change. It's just like gas. If it goes through a phase change, it's no longer a gas.
Yeah, and then he brought up his first argument was shows a picture of his face, Himawari, and it says, that's it, I'm done. Like, dude, we've debunked Himawari 7 ways from Sunday, much less Paul on the plane, who showed us their own website. It refers you to NOAA, NOAA, and showed that they overlay their all their data on the next generation Blue Marble data set. So I looked up the next generation because they brought this argument back up, and I had to show them that's where Robert Simmons in his he was next generation Blue Marble. So they come out with one still monthly composite of Earth strip data, and I'm asking them, I'm just telling them to look. They're still arguing for Himawari. I'm like, look at this. He's showing you on their website that they're using simulation data for like years into the future, but just check tomorrow's. How are they going to, for the weather out over the oceans? It's just simulation data. And on the dark side of Earth, it's just simulation. It's not. There's no way they could predict the weather perfectly out in the middle of the ocean or on the dark side of the planet perfectly every day. They're using the simulation data, which shows you that it's just data overlaid onto the composites, man.
Yeah.
They don't even deny it. What's crazy?
It's composite imaging. It's all. That's why they have to use Photoshop. They're simply just putting layer upon layer of different raw files based on ones and zeros, and they coloring it into. It's like color by numbers for a computer program. That's all it is. That's why it's called CGI, computer generated images. It's an artist rendition. Doesn't matter what they tell you. Every single image you get is an artist rendition. Talking to a graphic designer here for 10 years, I can tell you straight, every single one of those is computer generated. I mean, that's why you have this latest images from that James Webb telescope. That's why they all look so different, because you doing image layering and doing the compositions on Photoshop to give that color and depth. It's not a photograph, it's simple different images layered on top of each other to give an image. That's what it is.
Yep. It's Photoshop because it has to be. Yeah, you had the specular highlight and all that. And, yeah, that they still come out with monthly composites, you know, or bi-monthly, and that's what used. They don't even deny it. Was what's crazy, but that's the first place we all looked. When we heard about this, we're like, that's bullshit. Earth can't be flat because of the freaking pictures. So that's the first place we all delve, is we look at the pictures, and anybody who does a fair amount of research will see that, holy shit, these pictures look different. And then if you look deeper, you're going to see that they're admitting it's composites and Photoshop and stuff, man. And it's just like, you know, so we forget about that argument. Like, we put that to bed our first month.
I just have to
researching this subject.
I just have to say, your latest video on the GPS is brilliant. If you guys haven't watched it already, I do advise you to go watch his latest video on GPS. Was really, really good.
Whose video on GPS?
Oh, I think it was yours. Was it not yours? Your video on GPS with Blue Marble and...
Oh yeah, thank you, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, man.
It was really good. Definitely well worth it.
Yeah, I just had to do a retraction video about on Bebs. I was there the other night, and I was we were arguing about the surface of a sphere being 2D, and I said that I'm sorry.
Yeah, carry on.
I thought you said something, but I was arguing that you know that 4 pi r squared is the same as 2 pi d squared, but I forgot. I brain farted, and I should have looked it up. But it's pi d squared is the same as 4 pi r squared. It's not 2 pi d. So anybody can do the math. It's but 4 pi r is the same as 2 pi d, but once you square it, it's different. So I do a retraction video and showed him what I really was what I thought I was saying, what I was trying to say, and I brain farted that pi d squared. So I showed that pi d squared is the same as you're adding another dimension when you add another function. So d times pi is the area of a circle. Once you add another function with pi d squared, once you square it, you're adding another dimension. You're leaving the second dimension, and I put evidence to back that up. That's the video I put out right before I joined this stream today. But yeah, that GPS has Rakia Life like pummeling soundly and Blue and Kosho, because they're acting like it proves a globe, and they're not acknowledging. But he sinks it in their head, I think, by now, that it's all a model, and it's modeled with R. You know, they try and get around that fact, but they're still getting around it.
I mean, you can model it on a donut if you wanted to. If you tell it it's going to be a donut, it's going to measure it as a donut, because you're putting the data into the antenna. That's why when they come and tell us, GPS, I mean, I live in the bush, and I can tell you a lot of times GPS does nothing here. Where in the world is your satellite GPS if I'm in the bush? Where? There's so much dead zones everywhere, but it's supposed to be up in the sky as a satellite. I mean, you can easily program ground-based antennas to say, this is the distance, this is where you are situated. Give this, you know, time delay. It's as easy as that.
They're getting more and more of them. You know, private antennas, basically, they're in more and more places. The more they put up, the more accurate they'll get. And they call them satellites. That's what's funny. Even the device recognizes the antennas, the local antennas, as satellites. That's what's funny, man.
I mean, you would guess these people have never heard of LoRaN before. Tell me, why would the military use LoRaN, which is ground-based GPS technology, if it didn't work with ground-based GPS technology?
Just another coincidence, Flatoid, man. I think they call us conspiracy theorists, but we know we're dealing with coincidence theory, you know?
Yeah. T. Brown, I just have to tell you, the Haversine comes after the flat Earth measurements.
Yeah, and to do a Haversine, you have to have the radius of the whatever sphere you're getting your great circle distance on. If you don't have that, already packaged, then you're not going to get your great circle distance on any sphere.
Yeah, and that's based on what? The arc in the sky.
Yeah, so that's my question now. So I showed multiple ways, and I showed, the second time I've showed them surveyors and map makers saying very important to not mistake the surface of the sphere as two-dimensional. They're telling them that. It's only the anti-flat earthers who do that because they lose their globe proof. It doesn't necessarily prove it flat, or disprove a globe, but they lose their proof, their GPS proof. They lose the model proof when they're showing like Google Earth and all that, and they don't want to lose it, so they'd rather deceive. But so I got their own surveyors, map makers, telling them how important it is to not mistake the Earth for 2D. So they still think it is a globe, but the point is the surface of a sphere is not two-dimensional. You can transform it. You can use Cartesian coordinate and transform it using Habersign or other methods, but it's still, you left the realm of 2D when you went up or down in free space.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you see my comment on your video, Brian?
Man, I haven't even watched it. I hurried up and joined Flatzoid, man, but I'm gonna go look at the comment. Certainly.
No, that's. I can just repeat it. It's basically something along the lines of. So the guy that you quoted basically says that the Earth can't be a 2D sphere because there's elevation, right? But
no, he says that. Or wait, I'll let you finish. Unless you want to.
Yeah. No. Hold on. I want to be specific because I don't want. He differentiates between a circle and a sphere, in that the sphere has a third dimension. A circle doesn't. When you have the third dimension, you add elevation. Okay, so he's just referencing a sphere right now, right? So he says there's a distinction between a sphere and a circle because a sphere has a third dimension, which removes it from X, Y. You add Z, you have elevation. Now, just taking that at face value, a sphere now has elevation. Just on the surface of the discussion. But when we have this discussion about the impossibility of the physics, they say, oh, no, there's no elevation on a sphere. Do you see the conflict there?
Mm-hmm. Right, but he doesn't mention elevation though. He's only mentioned he's mentioning the cardinal directions. What he says is that it's very important you don't mistake the surface of a sphere as two-dimensional. He said this won't work on the surface of a sphere because the surface of a sphere is not two-dimensional. He said it's very important. And so what he takes to Earth is a globe, right? And the only difference is, Travis, is that you can't prove a globe no more. You can't use Google Earth or maps or GPS to prove a sphere if you use Cartesian coordinates. In other words, it could be flat or a globe. If you can measure it flat with the Cartesian coordinates, apply transforms, and it can be either. It'll work on either, and that's reality.
Well,
but,
I don't want to get into a back and forth disagreement with you, but I think the only way that we can settle this is to actually watch your video, because I would almost take a kick to both my shins with pointy boots that he brings in the term elevation as a variable that has to be taken into account. That's why I made the comment that I did.
Yeah, you should go back and listen to it.
No, I'm telling you. I know what it says. I'm telling you to go check your own source, bro.
Okay, I will. But it doesn't matter. You don't need that, because also I have the guy from the Survey Society who he also says the same thing, man. Look, the surface of a sphere is not two dimensions, man. Anybody anybody in the world except anti-flat earthers will acknowledge that. Even Wikipedia. So did you see what I posted on Wikipedia where it said that it showed the formula for the volume of a three-dimensional sphere, and it says that the sphere, the circle is two dimensions and the shape of a sphere is three dimensions, and that's how we can formulate the area of the surface of the sphere or the volume of the sphere. of the three-dimensional sphere. Even Wikipedia calls the surface of the sphere area and three-dimensional. And
When did you put that video up?
it's in the video. You didn't
Oh, it's
see
in the
it?
same one? Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I watched the whole thing, so maybe I was just because I
Yeah, the one I read out loud. The one I
Yeah.
read.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I remember right now because I remember having that thought yesterday when you were talking to Bev about the additional aspect where you just do X Y, you only have area, but when you add the Z, you then make it volume. Right. When you add that third dimension.
Right. And then you add some, and there's a difference between the volume and the area, but they're both three-dimensional. They both leave the second dimension as soon as you add another function. So basically, it's the same thing with cubes. It's the same thing with cubes. So six, like if the side of a square is let's say 10 feet, then you know that 10 squared is the area, or length times width, 10 times 10. So 10 squared is 2 dimensions. When you square something, that's 2 dimensions. So 10 times 10 or 10 squared. And once you leave the second dimension and you try and like circle your way around and get another face of a square on a cube, then you got to say, then you say 6 times 10 squared. Once you add another function, you have left the second dimension. There's another way to leave it to get volume, but you're still